Hey everyone, and welcome back for another deep dive.
Ooh, I like that.
Today we're tackling something pretty interesting, I think.
Okay, lay it on me.
Honesty.
Honesty. Okay.
Or maybe dishonesty.
Ooh, getting a little spicy there.
You know, we all like to think of ourselves as honest,
Right, sure.
but then you start thinking about it, and
Yeah.
it's like, was it really that simple?
Yeah, it gets complicated fast.
Yeah, and so that's what we're going to be diving into today.
I'm intrigued.
It's all about the not-so-predictable ways that we can be dishonest.
I like it.
And to help us unpack all of this, we're turning to Dan Ariely's book, Predictably Irrational.
Oh, a classic.
We'll be looking at excerpts from it to really get into the nitty-gritty of how our brains work
A nitty-gritty. I like it.
when it comes to honesty and dishonesty.
So we're going to be like busting those myths about honesty.
Yeah, exactly.
That we're all like perfectly rational and always make the right choices.
Right? Because that's not how it works, is it?
No, not even close.
I mean, sometimes we make decisions that we don't even realize we're making.
Right.
And they end up being maybe not the most honest.
Yeah, those like little subconscious biases and things.
Exactly. And Ariely, he's got some really fascinating research and insights into all of that.
Well, I'm ready to dive in.
Okay, so one of the first things Ariely talks about is this idea of professional ethics. And
Oh.
it's not exactly the most uplifting picture.
Okay, I'm listening.
So he starts by highlighting this study about lawyers in California.
Lawyers, all right.
And like a large majority of them felt that economic pressures
Makes sense.
were leading other lawyers to compromise their integrity.
Yeah, I mean, everyone's got to make a living, right?
Right. But it's kind of a slippery slope.
Oh, absolutely.
Because if everyone's cutting corners, then where does that leave us?
Yeah, good point.
And this isn't just limited to lawyers.
Oh, no, I bet.
Ariely talks about how there are concerns about ethical lapses in all sorts of fields.
Like what?
He mentions petroleum geologists
Okay, interesting.
and doctors,
Doctors, well,
being influenced by those pharmaceutical companies.
yeah, I can see that.
And even
Like ethicists.
ethicists. No way.
Yeah, even the people who are supposed to be the experts on ethics
That's wild.
are facing these kinds of challenges.
So it's like a widespread thing, huh?
It seems like it.
Yikes.
Yeah, it's kind of a worrying trend.
Yeah, for sure.
But Ariely, he doesn't just point out the problem, he actually offers some potential solutions too.
Okay, I like a good solution.
So one of the things he looks into is the power of moral reminders.
Moral reminders.
Yeah, and he did this experiment with students
Students love a good experiment.
taking a math test.
Oh boy, math tests.
And they had the chance to cheat to get more money.
Tempting. Tempting.
But before they took the test, they were asked to sign something.
What'd they have to sign?
It was like a statement acknowledging an honor code.
An honor code?
But here's the thing, it wasn't even a real honor code.
Wait, so they signed a fake honor code?
Yeah, pretty much.
That's so interesting. And you know what?
What?
Just signing that statement,
Yeah.
even though it wasn't even real,
Right.
it made a huge difference.
Really?
Way fewer students cheated.
So it's like just the reminder of ethics was enough.
Exactly. Like it just triggered something in their brains.
That's fascinating.
Yeah, it's like we have this internal sense of right and wrong, but sometimes it needs a little nudge.
Like a little wake-up call.
Exactly. And this has some interesting implications for the real world.
Okay, like what?
Well, think about like oaths
Okay.
or codes of conduct,
Right.
or even just those posters you see in workplaces
Yeah.
with ethical reminders.
Yeah.
It's like those little things can actually make a difference.
Huh, who knew?
Okay, so now let's move on to another experiment.
Okay, hit me with it.
This one's about Coke cans and dollar bills.
Coke cans and dollar bills. Okay, this is getting interesting.
Yeah, so Ariely, he left 6 packs of Coke and plates of dollar bills
6 packs, all right.
in shared fridges,
In shared fridges, okay.
like in MIT dorms.
College students, classic.
And the results were pretty wild.
Okay, I'm on the edge of my seat.
The Coke cans, they disappeared like hotcakes,
Fun.
but the money,
Yeah.
untouched.
Whoa, what?
It's like people were totally fine with taking a Coke,
Right.
but stealing cash, that was a hard no.
So it's like the form of the temptation matters.
Exactly.
Oh, interesting.
Like our brains have this weird disconnect with non-monetary value.
So it's easier to steal something if it doesn't feel like actual money.
Yeah, like we don't perceive it as the same level of loss or harm.
Right, makes sense.
So we can justify it more easily.
It's like a loophole in our brains.
Exactly.
Wow, our brains are sneaky.
And this leads us to another experiment that Ariely did.
Okay, lay it on me.
It's called the token experiment.
Tokens, huh?
Yeah, and it takes his idea even further.
I'm intrigued.
So in this one, students had the chance to cheat on a math test again.
More math tests, poor students.
But this time they got paid in tokens.
Tokens instead of cash.
Interesting.
Yeah, and they could exchange the tokens for cash right after. Oh, so it's basically the same thing.
Right. But here's the crazy part. Cheating more than doubled.
What? Really?
Yeah, it's like, even though the tokens were basically the same as cash,
Right.
that extra step of having the tokens,
Yeah.
it created this psychological distance
Interesting.
from the actual stealing.
So it's like one step removed from the cash makes a big difference.
Exactly.
Wow, our brains are so weird.
They really are.
This is fascinating.
It's making me think, with everything becoming more and more cashless these days,
Yeah, good point.
like, what does that mean for
Yeah,
honesty?
are we all going to become a bunch of cheaters?
I mean, it's a possibility, right?
Scary thought.
Yeah, but before we get too deep into that,
Okay.
let's take a look at some real-world examples of this fuzzy dishonesty that Ariely talks about.
All right, let's get real.
I think you'll find them pretty relatable.
I'm ready.
Okay, so let's get into some of these real-world examples
Yeah, let's see what we got.
that Ariely talks about when it comes to this whole fuzzy dishonesty thing.
Fuzzy dishonesty. I like that term.
Yeah, it's kind of catchy, right?
It is.
So one of the first things he brings up
Okay.
is insurance fraud.
Insurance fraud. Okay.
Yeah, and,
Like what?
think about it.
Okay.
People exaggerate their claims all the time.
Right, to get a bigger payout.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like they're robbing a bank,
Right.
but it's still dishonest.
It is. It's like they're bending the rules just enough
Right.
to make themselves feel okay about it.
Yeah, like it's not a big deal.
Exactly.
Interesting.
And then there's wardrobing.
Wardrobing.
Have you heard of that?
Yeah, kind of.
You know when people buy clothes,
Yeah.
wear them once,
Uh-huh.
and then return them?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
It's technically within the store's policy,
Right.
but it feels a little iffy.
Yeah, ethically questionable
Yeah.
for sure.
It's like you're taking advantage of the system.
Yeah, you're gaming the system a little bit.
Exactly. And then, of course, there's the classic
What's that?
padding those expense reports.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's a good one.
Yeah, it's so much easier to
Yeah.
justify like an extra drink or meal
Uh-huh.
when it's on the company's dime.
Especially when you're not physically handing over cash.
Right, exactly. It's that psychological distance again.
That's like the money's not even real.
Yeah, just numbers on a screen.
And Ariely, he even shares a story about his own Skype account getting hacked.
Oh, yeah, what happened?
Because someone was making calls all over the world,
Whoa.
racking up all these charges.
Ouch.
But he said because it was all electronic, it didn't feel as bad as if someone had like stolen cash from his wallet.
That's so interesting.
Right? Like the emotional impact is different,
It really is.
depending on how the money's involved.
Yeah, it makes you think, with everything becoming more digital,
Mm-hmm.
are we just going to become more dishonest?
Yeah. Is that the future?
It's kind of a scary thought.
It is.
But, Ariely's work,
Yeah.
it's not all doom and gloom.
Okay, good.
It's about understanding our flaws
Right.
so we can actually try to fix them.
Like find ways to outsmart our own irrationality.
Exactly.
I like that.
And that's where this whole field of behavioral economics comes in.
Behavioral economics.
Yeah. It's all about understanding how people actually make decisions.
Not just assuming everyone's perfectly rational.
Right. Because we're not.
Nope, not at all.
So it's about acknowledging those quirks and working with them.
So we can make better choices.
Exactly. Like, for example,
Okay.
there's this program called Save More Tomorrow,
Save more tomorrow. Interesting.
and it helps people save for retirement
Okay.
by linking their contributions to future salary increases.
Oh, that's smart.
Yeah. So it's like you're not really giving up any money right now.
Right. It's future money.
It's future money, so it doesn't feel as painful.
Yeah, I could get behind that.
And then there's the self-control credit card.
Self-control credit card. Okay.
It lets you set limits on your spending.
Ooh, I need one of those.
Yeah, right?
Like based on categories or time frames or something.
Exactly, so you don't go overboard.
Yeah, that would be helpful.
It's all about using what we know about human behavior
Right.
to design solutions that actually work.
I love that.
And speaking of using what we know about human behavior,
Okay.
Ariely did this really fun experiment.
What kind of experiment?
It involved beer.
Beer. All right, count me in.
Yeah, so it was at a brewery,
My brewery, nice.
and they were offering customers free samples of different beer.
Free beer, sign me up.
But there was a twist.
Oh, okay, what's the twist?
Some people had to order their beer out loud,
Okay.
and others wrote down their choices in private.
Interesting.
And guess what happened?
What?
The people who ordered out loud,
Yeah.
they chose a wider variety of beers,
Really?
even if it meant getting something they didn't actually like as much.
So they were trying to impress people.
Yeah, it's like they wanted to seem like they had sophisticated taste.
To look cool.
Exactly.
That's so funny.
It shows how our choices are influenced by so much more
Right.
than just our own preferences.
Like social pressure and stuff.
Yeah, and I heard There was this funny moment
Oh, what happened?
where Ariely was actually mistaken for a waiter
No way.
by one of his former colleagues.
That's hilarious.
It just goes to show that even the best laid plans
Right.
can go awry.
And sometimes lead to funny situations.
Exactly.
So what's the takeaway from this beer experiment?
Well, it reinforces this idea
Okay.
that we're not always rational.
We already knew that.
Right, but it's like a reminder that there are all these factors
Huh.
that we may not even be aware of
Okay.
that are influencing our choices.
So, like, we're not always in control.
Yeah. And that brings us back to this question of honesty.
Okay.
If our choices are so easily swayed,
Right.
how can we make sure we're being honest?
Especially with everything becoming more and more intangible.
Exactly.
That's a good question.
It is a big one.
And it's something we're going to keep digging into.
As we wrap up this deep dive, okay, so we've talked about all this fuzzy dishonesty and the challenges of a cashless society. Like, where do we go from here?
Well, I think it comes back to Ariely's main point. We're predictably irrational.
Right.
We make decisions based on all sorts of things.
Like what?
Emotions, social cues, mental shortcuts.
Uh-huh.
And we often don't even realize we're doing it.
Yeah, it's like we're on autopilot sometimes.
Exactly. And that can make us vulnerable to dishonesty.
Especially when we're dealing with money that doesn't feel real.
Right, like with those electronic transactions.
It's so easy to overspend or make impulsive purchases.
Because it's just numbers on a screen.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like real money.
But here's the thing.
What
Just because we're irrational doesn't mean we're doomed.
Oh, good.
We can actually use that knowledge to our advantage.
So it's like knowing our weaknesses can help us become stronger.
Exactly. It's about being mindful of those situations where we're most likely to make those irrational choices.
Like when we're tired or stressed?
Yes, or when we're feeling pressured to conform.
Yeah, like keeping up with the Joneses.
Exactly. And there's some practical things we can do.
Okay, like what?
To mitigate those risks,
Okay.
like for online shopping,
Uh-huh.
maybe create a rule for yourself.
Okay.
Like wait 24 hours before making any big purchases.
That's a good idea.
It gives you time to cool off.
Yeah, to think it over.
And make sure you really want it.
Not just giving into impulse.
Exactly. Or when it comes to managing your money,
Yeah.
maybe try using a budgeting app.
Oh, yeah, those can be helpful.
It helps you track your spending.
So you don't overspend without realizing it.
Right. It's like those nudges we talked about earlier.
Yeah.
But this time you're nudging yourself.
Towards better behavior.
Exactly. And it's not just about individual choices.
Okay.
It's also about creating systems
Yeah.
that make it easier to be honest.
Okay, like what do you mean?
Like designing websites
Uh-huh.
that are transparent about pricing,
Right.
or companies that have clear ethical guidelines for their employees.
So it's about setting up the right environment.
Exactly. We need to think about the context and how it influences our behavior.
It's like we can actually design honesty into our systems.
I love that idea.
Yeah, it's pretty powerful.
And this is where behavioral economics can really make a difference.
So it's not just about understanding our flaws.
Right.
It's about using that knowledge to create a better world.
A world where honesty is the norm.
That's a world I want to live in.
Me too.
This has been a really eye-opening deep dive.
I agree.
I feel like I've learned so much about myself and how my brain works.
It's been great exploring these ideas with you.
Likewise, and for our listeners out there, as we wrap up this deep dive, here's a final thought to leave you with.
Okay.
Now that you know about these predictable irrationalities, how can you use that knowledge to make more conscious, more ethical choices in your own life?
It's a question we should all be asking ourselves.
It is. And what kind of world do you want to create? A world where we're constantly battling our own biases and temptations, or a world where honesty is the default?
That's a powerful question.
It is something to think about. Thanks for joining us on this journey, and we'll see you next time for another deep dive.